following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired.
By tomorrow, I will rule the world!
You think he's gone? He's not gone. That's the whole point. He's never gone.
Is this some radical new therapy?
You see?
Well, I must have not been paying attention when you were just talking to me.
Hi, Tom.
No white shot coming in?
Oh, do you want that one?
Yeah, just coming in.
I just, you know what it is? Sometimes it
You
doesn't
don't want to
work.
scare them with how ugly I am right out of the gate.
You know what
Everybody's
it is?
going to be
Sometimes
gone.
it doesn't work on the wide one, so I always
right.
go to the safe one.
All right. Fair enough.
Okay. Happy Wednesday. How does it feel like being here on this heat?
I really have nothing good to say today.
Oh, God. Hi, everyone. Welcome in. Please like, comment, share.
I really want to get to that wake tonight. I don't know if I'm going to make it.
Yeah, it's too hot. Do you have your pump?
I didn't. I left it in the car. And I'm so struggling to breathe today. It's actually a little bit better in here.
Yeah. Nah, it's too hot. It's like the humidity. Ugh.
It's only June.
Can't wait for fall and winter. I'm the weirdest Dominican. I love winter.
Me too.
Oh,
I'm actually...
me too. You're Dominican.
I'm a Dominican.
You're a weird Dominican.
I identify as Dominican.
Some men say they identify as women. So
Right.
it's
Well,
okay.
hey, if you can identify as a woman, I can identify as a Dominican.
I identify as a millionaire. How about that?
All right. We got Papa Pass coming up.
Hey.
You should see the way she dances. It's so cute.
Number two.
We're number two in every picture. I swear to God, every picture.
Number two.
Every fucking picture on Facebook, there's somebody in the background or on the side doing this.
Number two.
We're number two.
It's less pressure. I told you
I've
it's
never
better.
seen people more excited to be not first in my life. Everyone's number two. Everyone.
Nobody wants to be number one.
It's
'cause
crazy.
no one wants to be number one. It will be all eyes on you. Number one. Number two is less pressure.
You know what? You
know
cheered
what I
me
mean?
up. I know you did that on purpose, too. But thank you.
Right there. Welcome in, everyone. Oh, we have 15 people waiting, Tom. So we got started?
I think people are very eager to hear what I have to say today.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's not going to be good.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Hi, Karen. Hi, Marie. Hi, Anne. Lynn, Lillian. Welcome in, everyone.
Did we get any...
David Doyle is watching.
Ah, Dave. Did we get any shorts from last week's show? No?
No.
With Dawn? No.
No.
All right, let's get this show on the road, I guess.
All right.
Hi, how you guys doing? My name's Tom Duggan here with the Paying Attention podcast. High atop the Golden Seal Apothecary. I'm still instinctively trying to say Two Guys Smoke Shop. Like it's there. It's like right on my, and then I have to stop and I have to flip it. Here at the NCAM Studios in. Wow, that's such high definition. You can actually see my stubble. How about that? Yeah. The Golden Seal Apothecary, high above the Golden Seal Apothecary here on Main Street at the in North Andover, at the plush, luxurious NCAM Studios.
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, if you'd like to do, I keep looking at the monitor instead of the camera. If you'd like to do a podcast kind of like mine, and you don't want to do it out of your basement because it kind of looks. I honestly deduct points when I'm watching a podcast and it's like somebody in there, like in their living room or their basement. It's like you need something. You need to be somewhere professional. It's something that looks professional. You know, the other ones I don't like either is the ones that look like you're on Conan O'Brien where they're sitting on a couch. Like, I don't like those either because then...
I like those.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because it makes people comfortable. You're comfortable. You can have a comfortable conversation. You know, it's all about the comfort.
If I wanted that, I'd go to the Clatter and I'd just sit in the back and watch people talk. Like, I don't need to go to a podcast for that. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So, anyways, let's thank our sponsors. It's going to be a rough day, I'm telling you right now.
Oh, God. It's okay. Hang tight, everybody.
Century 21 McLennan Real Estate. Our fine sponsors. We're waiting for what happened
We
now.
have 28 people live. Welcome in.
all
And
right.
please share, everyone.
Very good. Oh,
Like.
did I share it?
I'm so excited.
Actually, now that you're telling people to share, I don't know if I shared. Let me make sure I shared.
Yeah, please share, like,
'Cause
say hello.
last week I
Patrick Ord says hi. Mark Linton says hi. Bill Healy says hi.
Oh, all my regulars. Okay, yeah, we are live. All right. So one of the reasons why we probably have more lives with us today is because I actually shared the show onto my page when we went live, not halfway through the show.
Oh, okay.
All right, so let's thank our sponsors. Get this out of the way. Wow, look how great that sushi looks. By the way, that's the Godzilla right there, the one on the left.
Ooh.
and the one on the right is the Kamikaze. Oh, no, it's backwards. The one on the right is the Godzilla. The one on the left is the Kamikaze at Tomo's. Man, I'll tell you, if I could actually breathe today, I would leave here and go right to Tomo's. I'd call Kevin Druin, and I'd bring you out for Tomo's, and we would go to Tomo's and have sushi right now.
It's too
But I
hot
could barely
today.
breathe getting from the car
It's too
to
hot.
here.
I just want to be home. In
All
my
right.
4 cold walls.
Tomo and Shaken Seafood, as we just said. EIS, Investigation and Gun Training. Marson and Son Construction. Boy, I wish Ronnie Marson would run for mayor. But like every time I try, he's like, nope, not interested. And why would he be? If you're a professional, you're making real money. Why would you want that? Century 21, we said the Zany Pesh Law Office.
The hottest woman
the
alive.
Sexiest woman alive. Although, I got to say, I don't know. I don't know anymore.
Why? Who's taking up?
No, it's not that anyone's running ahead of her. It's just that she's losing so much weight that I got to deduct points. And she hasn't lost Sexiest Woman Alive yet, but she's approaching that line. Like she got to eat a few more hamburgers.
By the way, how's your weight loss going?
Terrible.
No,
Terrible.
nothing at all.
So I lost 10.
Okay.
And then I gained 5.
Why don't you talk to her? Maybe she can give you some tips.
Maybe. Who else do we have? Oh, she's running for re-election, by the way.
Yes.
We're going to talk a little bit about that today. JG's Ice Cream, our buddy. By the way, last week or the week before we had a conversation, you chimed in about me not giving free shout-outs to places. And that day when we left here, I went to the post office. There was a check from JG's with a nice little note saying thanks for the free mentions.
Oh.
So without even they weren't doing it because of the show. It was right that day. And that's I love business. I give a lot of free shit to a lot of businesses because I really care about the local economy because I'm a small business. I know she's rolling her eyes like, why do you do that?
Yeah.
But you know what? And most of them, I don't even get a thank you out of them. In fact, I'm not even going to go down the opposite road. But it's nice when they do. And so and that's one of the reasons why we love JG's Ice Cream. Who else do we have left? Pleasant Valley Landscaping Contractors. He was pretty good last week, Dave Idkinsoli.
I love the shirt. Great shirt he was wearing.
Him and Don Pease. And it's nice that I got those two together because, they would never cross paths.
No.
Like, their universes are so far away from each other. Enterprise Bank, which, by the way, it's a free shout out to Enterprise Bank and all the Enterprise Bank girls. But it's starting, what?
With the girls.
What?
The girls.
Have you seen the girls at Enterprise Bank?
I did.
Have
I
you
saw
seen
them.
Yeah,
I saw them.
Please, like walking into the Playboy
40
Mansion.
people watching.
Yeah,
Let's
they
go.
are. All right,
Everybody
very
welcome
good.
in and share, like.
So Enterprise Bank is becoming Rockland Trust, and I'm not real happy about it.
Okay.
Because I did a little research on Rockland Trust, and they're kind of woke. They're kind of left wing.
Oh, God.
But I'm hoping that with
Purple
the
hair
merger,
woke?
huh?
Girls with purple hair woke.
Yeah, kind of. So I'm hoping that them acquiring Enterprise Bank, they're going to tone it down a little bit because I want to stay with Enterprise. Even though they're changing their name, hopefully the services are not going to change. Hopefully the quality of the service is not going to change. I have a lot of faith in Jessica over on Merrimack Street and Miss St. Ange over, and I always forget her first name. I think it's Christina St. Ange over in Methuen. Got a lot of faith in those ladies, but you never know when corporate tells them they got to start doing stuff that's funny. They got to do their job. So we're gonna give them a shot. So free shout out to Enterprise/Rockland Trust. Who else do we have left? Plaza Valley Landscaping.
You say AFC?
AFC Urgent Care, Prime Insurance. The Doug Mercurio Law Office had a long text conversation with Doug yesterday. I think it's time for lunch with Doug. But we got to get him around here, though.
How about next week if it's not too hot?
All right, sounds good. Free shout out to the winners of the Taste of Methuen. Oh, did we talk about the Taste of Methuen?
We haven't.
Okay, can you please make a note? I want to talk about that today.
Yes, we
that's
will. Let me put it here.
Pretty disgusting. Quality Catering was the winner of the Taste of Methuen. They get a free shout out on the show for the next 3 months, and they're going to have a free ad starting next week in the Valley Pages for July, August, and September, as well as Terramar Mexican Grill, which is where we're going to have our first flash mob lunch. So anybody who's watching, if you want to join us, and I'm not going to be able to do it till after the 4th of July. We were planning on this week, but with the Cuddy stuff going on, we just couldn't get to it. But right after 4th of July, maybe the following week, we're going to get 10 people or more if we can. We're all going to go to Terramar Mexican Grill on South Broadway in Lawrence. They're in the location where, not Sushi Naka, Yokohama, where Yokohama Japanese restaurant used to be on South Broadway, and we're all going to take pictures of our food. It's Dutch. Everybody pays for their own.
Oh.
But it's a nice thing. It's like everybody's going to be together. We're gonna, like a table of maybe 10
Anyone
or 12.
want to pay for mine?
I'll take care of yours. If you
Oh,
want.
yay. Yes, yes,
I will.
yes.
I will take care of intern girl.
Woo! Number two.
She worked. And so if you want to join me, please send me a direct message, and we will do that. And then after Terramar, we're going to do another one. We haven't decided which one yet, but we're going to try and help some local businesses. And I'm not just going to advertisers. I'm going to go to businesses that aren't advertising. It's not to shill to get advertising for the paper. This is not a con like most of your Merrimack Valley Eats types pages. I'm not saying the actual Merrimack Valley Eats is a con, but some of those type pages are, where you go there and it's just the actual business owners promoting their own business. We're going to try and find businesses that are good and that are good stewards of the community. Maybe they donate their time for cancer research or Alzheimer's walks or something, and we're going to go and we're going to try and help them get business. So we'll do that.
I love how you're doing all of this with, the whole Methuen Eats situation.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Methuen. Taste of Methuen in a minute.
All right, let's get started.
Also, 4-star lighting and a free shout out to my friend Don, who was here last week at Don Sign Tech, and my friend Dr. Romano at Stadium Chiropractic, who somehow I screwed up his name in his ad last month. So we will make sure that we get that fixed. So I got a bunch of things I want to talk about, but we're not going anywhere until we talk about Tommy Cuddy. Boy, I'll tell you, if there was a way to screw the pooch, the Lawrence police found it.
Yeah.
I went to school with Tommy Cuddy. Tommy Cuddy went to St. Patrick's with me.
Okay.
I think he was even an altar boy when I was an altar boy at St. Patrick's Church. I knew his family. We all grew up in South Lawrence in the South Common area with the Hallorans and the Valcourts. We all played together. We played ball together.
You know the Hallorans?
Yeah. In fact, I was with Danny Halloran yesterday,
I love
Monday.
Dan Halloran.
Do you like Danny?
Yes.
Danny and I grew up
He
together.
used to be my boss years ago.
Yep.
Love.
The Hoffmans, the Hallorans. We all grew up in South Lawrence. Tommy Cuddy was a great kid when we were in school, the happiest kid. Listen, I know. When someone dies, do you think you could get me another one of these?
Yeah, of course.
When someone dies, people always say he was the best at everything. Everyone loved him. He brought a smile to everyone's face. But Tommy Cuddy really was the happiest guy I knew. I don't think I've ever seen him angry in the 40-something years that I've known him. And he became a police officer. It was what he really wanted to do. He originally was going to be a priest. In fact, I think he might have been a priest for a short period of time. Maybe I get that wrong. But he studied to be a priest, certainly, and then became a Lawrence police officer. And he approached the job the way he probably would have approached the priesthood. He cared about people, and that's just a fact. And I saw him a lot. I saw him at the Elks. I saw him at the Reliefs Inn. I thank you, honey. We ran into each other. Well, he was the public relations person for the police department. So he's the guy that I would call and yell at when they would do stupid. It used to drive me crazy. He would post on Facebook, "The Lawrence police is looking for." And I would, on every single post on Facebook, I'd say, "Are looking for the Lawrence police."
Oh, that was him that used to write those posts?
Yes.
He might have done it on purpose.
And I really was convinced that after all he was doing it on purpose. As a newspaper guy, it just the minute I saw it, it would just send me into orbit. And I would go on every single post every time it happened and put, "Lawrence Police Department is, Lawrence Police are." That's actually how it works. And so sometimes I'd call him on the phone and yell at him because the Tribune would get a story before us. And in fact, the last time I saw him was about a week ago. I can't remember where I ran into him. It might have been at the Elks. And he asked, hey, how you doing? I said, and he goes, "Don't even start. You're getting the press releases. You get them when the Tribune gets them. Don't even start." And he starts laughing. Now, I knew he was annoyed with me, but that's kind of who Tommy was. Even when he was annoyed, he was laughing. He was just a happy guy. So when we got the news what happened to Officer Cuddy, devastating. Devastating. Now, when Kevin Callahan killed himself, now Kevin and I were in a band together in high school. He was in Tommy Cuddy's class. Tommy was 2 classes behind me, and Kevin was in his class. Kevin was also a Lawrence police officer who killed himself. He killed himself 2 days before Christmas. He had 3 little kids. And I still, to this day, and I have Methuen police officer friends who hate when I say this, I'm sorry, I still to this day do not believe what they said happened. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And it's not because I don't want to believe it. It's because the facts don't comport with what we know. Okay. And so that was probably about 10 or 15 years ago that Kevin left us. And that was very, very tough. I think that was the first friend that I had that had died like that way. And I also know, because I had many conversations with Tommy Cuddy about Kevin Callahan. We all hung out in the Phillip Street area. We all hung out in the South Common area, and it affected him greatly. It also affected him greatly when Officer McClellan died a few months ago, and when Officer Sandin died a couple of months ago. Now, we've lost 3 Lawrence police officers in the last 6 months. And there is a lot going on in that Lawrence Police Department. I have been very quiet about it. One, it's my dad's department. It's the department that he lived serving and he died serving. I try very hard when there are police officers in that department who are engaged in wrongdoing. I try very hard to give them the benefit of the doubt when accusations come out. I try very hard not to talk badly about them by name unless I just get so fed up with what they're up to, like the Mike Samads of the world. You just get so fed up with them that then you feel like you have to in order to try and correct the problem, which, by the way, doesn't work with Mike Samadi. Doesn't care. But, yesterday, the day before the wake, the day before the funeral, actually, I think the funeral might be Thursday. Maybe I have that wrong. But yesterday, the day before the wake of Tommy Cuddy, while his family is still grappling with what happened, while his friends in the community are still trying to grapple with what happened.
And today is the wake.
Today is the wake, and I hope I can get there. I'm going to try to get there. I'm struggling to breathe today. The Lawrence Police Chief, I'm really trying very hard to give Mo Aguilar the benefit of every doubt, given the very shady circumstances by which he was appointed, and given some of the things that have happened in the past. And I love the guy, and I have defended the guy. Despite his problems, I have defended him because I believed up until yesterday that he was one of us. I believed up until yesterday that Mo Aguilar cared about the families of cops, that he walked the thin blue line. It wasn't just a job that he did. Some of these guys get on, it's just a job. They don't care about fellow cops. They don't care about the sacrifices that others have made. They get on, they want to do a job, they want to make some money, then they want to go do something else. And I always believed, at the core of my soul, I believed that Chief Aguilar, who just recently became chief, was one of us. That he was someone like me, that he was someone like Paul McMillan, that he was someone like, I could name 20 other people. The families of officers such as myself, families of officers who have made an ultimate sacrifice or made a huge sacrifice. Some of them have made a huge sacrifice, not the ultimate sacrifice, but there are officers out there that have been wounded in the line of duty will never be the same.
Day operations is insane.
We felt, whether we knew Tommy or not, we felt what happened to Tommy. And to see on the Eagle Tribune yesterday.
Shame.
That the likes of Jill Hemazinski, of all people, if someone else had done it, it might not have felt as horrible as it was. But someone the likes of Jill Hemazinski, to put a story up, and by the way, if you go to the Eagle Tribune on any given day, you have to pay to read their stories. Yeah. You have to pay. It used to be you got 2 free articles a month, and then they did away with that because they're so horrible that they now charge you even to read one. But yesterday, they ran a banner story at the top of their website that was predicated by a press release from the police chief. And by the way, it was free. They wanted to make sure this was an ambush on the Cuddy family and Tommy Cuddy's memory. It was. I'm sorry, not sorry, but it was. This was not just them doing their job. This was not just them just saying, hey, we've got a story, we want to get it first. Because if that was the case, like every other fucking story on the Eagle Tribune website, you would have to pay to read it. No, not this one. This one was banner at the top, and it was free to read and free to share. Because they wanted to smear the name of Tommy Cuddy, and they didn't care about, I'm not going to say they wanted to hurt his family, but they didn't certainly care about his family. And I'm told, and I believe it 100% given what's gone on in the last 24 hours. I'm told by people on the end that the Tribune had it 5 minutes before the police department released it. That smacks of John Romero 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. That means it was purposeful, and it was done with
But why?
A forethought. And the press, if you haven't seen it, please don't go to the Eagle. Don't give them the clicks. I'll tell you. I'll tell you as much as you need to know on this show. Trust me. They released the chief released
A statement, right?
a statement whereby, even though it was very cleverly worded to give him deniability, in essence, what it said was Tommy Cuddy's a thief. He stole $100,000, and the cop shouldn't go to his wake and funeral. That's the essence of what it said. Now, you can call me and you can play word games, you can play definition games, and say, that's not what he said, that's not exactly what he said, parse every word. No. I read that 100 times last night and was more dumbfounded every time I wrote it, or every time I read it.
Yeah.
The essence of what they said was Tommy Cuddy's a bad person and discouraging cops from going, and they pulled his honor guard detail, claiming it was for the family. If I was a Lawrence police officer, I would show up there today anyway, and I would stand guard anyway. Unless the family came over and said to me, listen, we really don't want that, that would be fine. But I don't give a shit what the chief says. If I was a Lawrence cop, I would be there anyway. I would be there anyway, and I would be doing it anyway.
They just threw away all his sacrifices, all the years he worked for the city, all the great things he's done with that statement.
So I heard 3 weeks ago that there was an investigation involving the Police Relief Association funds, that money might have been missing, and that Tommy was the treasurer, and so because Tommy was the treasurer, he was under investigation. Doesn't mean he's guilty. Here's what's interesting. There are people on my Facebook page today defending Mo Aguilar, and believe me, nothing would make me happier than to be able to defend Mo Aguilar. I read that press release yesterday looking for something to give him deniability on this, to give him an out on this, because I really, really do like him as a human being. I honestly really do.
Do you think maybe, well, here Patrick Ord is saying, I feel like the Tribune put the chief in a position that he had to make his post.
Well, this is what I'm hearing now. This is people who are defending. However, that would work. That would work if you didn't know how things work around here. But as the guy who owns a newspaper, who talks to the police department on a regular basis, how many friggin' times do they say, it's an ongoing investigation, we can't talk about it? How many fucking times do they say, it's an ongoing investigation, we can't talk about it? But on this, suddenly they're issuing press releases? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? His family today is going to be standing next to his body in a funeral home over at Breen. And they not only now have to deal with the unbelievable suffering of losing Tommy, but on top of that, they have to deal with the judging eyes, or what they think are the judging eyes of the people walking in the door, knowing that other people think that of Tommy Cuddy. It's disgraceful. It's disgraceful that the chief did it. And again, it hurts me to have to say it, but it's disgraceful that the chief did it. On top of the fact that it's even more disgraceful that the Eagle Tribune published it. Again, I had the information at least 3 or 4 weeks ago about what was going on behind the scenes. And when I started asking around, I started talking to some of my friends in the department, hey, did you hear anything about this? I was told, it's an ongoing investigation, Tom. It's an ongoing investigation. And when that kid got beheaded a couple of summers ago, 3 or 4 summers ago, and we all went to the police station looking for answers and what's going on with the investigation, it's an ongoing investigation. Can't talk about it. It's an ongoing investigation. I have submitted public records requests asking for police reports, and the answers that I get from the city attorney in writing is, it's an ongoing investigation. Well, this is an ongoing investigation, and you released that the day before they waked this guy. And the Eagle Tribune wrote about it the day before they waked this guy. Now, listen, if Mo Aguilar really believed that this was of such importance that the public know from transparency, maybe he really is worried that someone's going to say he's covering something up. First of all, you say it's an ongoing investigation. Works for everything else. But second of all, how about wait 2 days? He's still going to be dead. He's still going to be dead 2 days from now.
Let the wait go by.
How about wait until Friday? Here's an idea. How about be a fucking human being and wait till Monday? I know, crazy thought, right? But how about wait until Monday before you disparage a dead Lawrence police officer. Because here's what happens. What happens 30 days from now when this investigation is over and they find out, oops, it wasn't him? Well, then what? Then what? Can you take back all the hurt that you just caused his family, his friends, his fellow officers? Somebody reached out to me last night. He was Tommy's gun trainer at the police academy. And he's like, oh, my God, I can't believe what's going on. I just read the chief's. Is that real? Is that fake or is that real? People thought that the chief's memo, the chief's press release yesterday, was fake. People outside the area that were reading it thought it was fake because what chief would do that? Wow. Wow. I got to tell you, as a family, as a cop family, my family took it very hard before the chief did what he did. Yesterday, my family was beside themselves, and I think I can speak for almost all of them. My family was beside themselves. It's a disgrace.
It is. I have family in the Lawrence Police Department. I wonder if anything will happen like that. That's insane.
Right. And what message does this send to the guys that are on the department now? God forbid you die in a car accident tomorrow. God forbid someone shoots you tomorrow. And there's people in the department that don't like you, or you're under some kind of investigation because they think you might have done something. And that's going to be the headline before you get buried for the rest of eternity. The investigation into Tommy Cuddy is going to be tied with Tommy Cuddy's death, whether it turns out to be real or not. I don't know. I don't know where you go from there. Where do you go from there? Someone, I'm even going to tell you who it was. Jackie Marmol called me 2 days ago, and she said, Joe Himizinski from the Tribune is sniffing around this story. And I had it long before it even happened. And I said, yeah, but you know what, though? Even Joe Himizinski, as despicable as she is, and she's pretty friggin' despicable, even Jill Himizinski's not that low. Like, I hung up the phone thinking, you know what? Nobody's that sick. Nobody's that low. There's just no way. I know she's sniffing around, but if she's going to do it, she'll probably, maybe if there's a story there, she'll do it next week. Maybe when the investigation's over, she'll do the story. And then she basically said, hold my beer. And yesterday, my phone started blowing up the minute it got posted. People were sending it to me. And I didn't even click on it because when I go to the Tribune website, I don't pay. I refuse to pay.
Yeah, I don't pay.
So when I go, I can't read it because I don't pay. So people were sending me the article, and I was like, yeah, but I can't read it. I'm not. Can you copy the text and send it to me? And they were like, oh, no, it's free. Today it's free. Everything else you got to pay for. But they want to make sure that they screwed Tommy's legacy in the Eagle Tribune. And by the way, this is the same Jill Himizinski. If you go to her Facebook page, which I did last night, you go to her gallery, there's 30 friggin' pictures of Tommy Cuddy.
She's friends with him?
Because she works for the Eagle Tribune. He was the public information officer for the department.
Wow.
She was at all of these events. They're at the gun training up here in North Andover. There's pictures of him and Roy Vask. And I'm looking at this going, and it made my brain break even more because this wasn't just a reporter who didn't know the guy, who hadn't worked with the guy, who just was kind of detached, and so they were kind of insensitive because they were detached. It reminded me how close she and Tommy Cuddy were.
What a bitch.
Holy crap. There is no universe where I write a story like that. None. And, I'm going to say this about Mo Aguilar. I'm going to be very delicate. Even as angry as I am right now, I'm going to be very delicate. And by the way, shame on you all city councilors. All you city councilors, shame on you. We're going to get to you at some point on this issue. Mo Aguilar had some very serious issues, some personal issues. And the likes of Julissa Nunez were all over Facebook attacking him personally. And it wasn't that long ago, 4 or 5 years ago. I understood why Mo was having the problems that he was having. He had gone through an on-duty shooting. And somehow, through Julissa Nunez, feeding it out on Facebook and giving it to the Tribune, and I don't remember if it was Jill or not, but someone in the Tribune wrote about it. I was all over Facebook defending the guy. Then I found out about some other things that were going on, and I kept them to myself. At least 3 or 4 things that I've kept to myself. And I kept them to myself because I really believed that Mo was one of us. I really believed he was a cop's cop. I really believed that he had the backs of the families of the guys that he worked with. And then he got elevated. Then his name got nominated for chief. I have got a packet that's this thick sitting on my desk right now with all of the internal emails and documents that somebody fed to me back in March that I'm still going through. on all the shenanigans and the law breaking that took place to make this guy the chief. And I also was told by someone in City Hall, very high up in City Hall, that folders in his personnel file have disappeared, and disappeared 2 weeks before he was nominated to be chief. I sat here like a fucking chump, and I said nothing. I said nothing when they nominated this guy. I said I could have destroyed his chances to become chief with one headline. Trust me when I tell you. And I sat here and I said nothing. I sat here like a chump and I said nothing. Because I thought at least this guy's a cop's cop. Whatever his problems are in his past, I'm hoping he's past it. I'm hoping he can do it. And I'm still hoping. He's not making it easy, I'll tell you that. But I was hoping that this guy's going to be a cop's cop chief. Right? He's not going to be some of the chiefs that we've had in the past, like the Alan Coles of the world. All right? I thought he had the backs of police officers and their families. I really did. And then he didn't extend that same courtesy that I gave him to the Cuddy family. I don't care what the excuse is. There are times when you put your foot down and say no. I don't want to hear that he was under pressure from the Tribune. He was under pressure. You say it's an ongoing investigation, and I'm going to release something on this later. Now there are other officers involved who are not dead. They weren't mentioned anywhere in that press release. There are at least 3 other officers that have been involved, that are involved and have been involved. And let me say one more thing before we move on to something that's less upsetting to me. This is something else that I just ate like a chump for the last 10, 15 years. There's a Lawrence police officer wearing a gold badge right now, who, when they were raising money for my father's memorial up in the St. Mary's Cemetery, the Police Relief Association, the president of the Police Relief Association at that time, stole money from the Police Relief Association, was caught stealing money from the Lawrence Police Relief Association. And not only was she not prosecuted and investigated and thrown off the department, she was offered the opportunity and given the opportunity to pay the money back in her paycheck every week, and then was promoted.
Wow.
Okay? I sat here for years knowing that this person stole money from an organization that was raising money for the police memorial for my father, and I've eaten it. So, a lot of people come on my page and say how out of control Tom Duggan is. He just shoots from the hip, and look how horrible he is. He doesn't care about anybody else. I eat more than I eat inside. I hold back more than I post. For every one story you see me post that you think might be a little outrageous, there's 20 stories that are 10 times more outrageous that I'm not posting. And that's the downside of my job. As much as I love my job, the tough part of my job is when I find out things and I go, man, I wish I didn't know that about that guy. I really respected that guy. And I find something out and go, oh, my God. And you could never look at the person the same again, even if you never report on it. But here we are. 10, 15 years later. That officer's still working. In fact, I actually have a good relationship with that officer now. As much as every time I see her, it eats at me inside. It eats at me inside because it was my father, and you can't make those feelings go away, all right? And every time I see certain officers that knew about it and advocated for that officer to stay on the department and not be charged, it eats at me, okay? So I see what these cops do when it's someone they like. I see what these cops do when it's someone who's part of the in crowd and the clique. And then I see what they do to Tommy Cuddy. Then I see what they do to people that are not on the. There are cops right now who have either lost their job or are on leave because they did something that's no different than every other cop that's out there that's doing the same thing in the Lawrence department, but they're not with the in crowd. They're not part of the favorite crowd. They don't have any political juice, and so they're the ones that take it. We had a Lawrence police officer in the basement of the department in the booking room who got attacked by a prisoner. The video shows him striking back. Someone took that video, and they only took the last half of it and leaked it to Channel 7 and leaked it to the press. I don't think that guy's back to work still.
Really?
He might be, but I don't think he is. And that happened like 3 years ago, at least 3 years ago. I remember what they did to Paul McMillan. All right? Now, here's a guy that just went to the mayor's office. He just wanted to talk to the mayor, and the idiot that worked in the mayor's office, Brian DePina's office, called the police and said he was making threats and had him physically removed, and then tried to take his job away from him. I defended that guy too, and that guy never got his reputation back when it all came out that what he was accused of never happened. There's a lot going on in the Lawrence Police Department. And if the chief really wants to do something about the corruption, as I've encouraged him to do, and by the way, if Tommy turns out to be guilty, and you and the other people involved in this so-called scandal turn out to be guilty, there's a time and a place for it. It's not now.
It's not now.
And I will be the first one to cheer Mo Aguilar on if there are dirty cops in the department and they are stealing money. As long as it's everyone, as long as this isn't just we're going to go after the guys we don't like, but there's other guys doing it that we're looking the other way for. And I said it on this show when Mo Aguilar got appointed. I said I don't think he's going to be able to clean out the corrupt cops that he's worked with over the years, but maybe he will. And maybe this was his attempt to do that, but he just did it wrong. And there's a lot going on in that department.
He's only been there like a month now.
Yeah, it's been a
we
very
were there
short
May
period
20th
of time, and
when he was called.
and believe me, they all bent over backwards. If William Castro had in his background what Mo Aguilar has in his background, it would have been all over the front page of the Tribune, and William Castro would be Hitler and the Antichrist in the Eagle Tribune, and not one of those councils would have voted for him. But they climbed over each other. They climbed over each other to vote for Mo Aguilar. You should have seen them beaming. They were all getting in the group photo, like, oh, look how wonderful we are. It was worse than when CNN was interviewing Barack Obama. Tell us how awesome you are. Like this is the way they treated the guy. And by the way, I don't want to take anything away from Mo. Mo has been a great cop for years, and I have defended him right down the line. I have defended him and defended him and defended him. But I can't defend this. This is unacceptable. It's inexcusable. And
bad timing. Right before the wake.
The mayor needs to do something about it. I haven't talked to Brian. I'm afraid to talk to Brian because I'm going to lose my temper if I talk to Brian.
Nah, you've had a rough couple of days.
I have had a rough couple of days, and well, there's
I actually got a call this morning at 6:30 a.m. From your best friend, and he said, take it easy on the guy today. He's not feeling too well.
Yeah, I'm not feeling good. I'm not feeling good physically. I'm not feeling good emotionally.
Yeah.
I'm having a very tough time with this. I'm not going to say Tommy was my best friend. Some people, they always like to over-exaggerate the connection to someone when they die. I'm not going to do that. But I did know him, and I did know him well, and I really liked him. I didn't really don't know anyone who didn't like him. There were people that I'd bring up his name, and maybe they rubbed the wrong way. They had a conflict or whatever. But I never heard anybody say, I really hate that guy. I never heard anybody say, boy, that guy's a piece of crap. I've never heard people say that about me all the time. But I've never heard anybody say that about Tommy Cuddy. And I feel so bad for the Valcourts. I feel so bad for the Cuddys. I feel so bad for their entire family. And
our heart goes to them today.
Even
it's going to be a tough day.
Even if the chief had said nothing and the Tribune had said nothing, it's still absolutely devastating to have to deal with this situation. And it's because of why the situation happened. And it goes well beyond what the police chief said in his memo. And if the police chief really wants to clean things up, he needs to call the feds. And I don't mean call the FBI office in Lowell. I mean go to the U.S. Attorney's office and talk to them about how your department has been infiltrated, and talk about the money that's being lent to cops and what's going on over there. And I'm not saying that happened with Tommy. I have no knowledge of that, but I do know what happened with other cops.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on over there. And this is the department that my father lost his life for, so for me it's very emotional. But even for the average person who just knew Officer Cuddy, who had dealt with him on a regular basis, it's not easy for them either. This is a very tough thing for the community to go through, and I guess I know I'm talking circular now, and I'm probably just going to start repeating myself. So
no worries. I want to give a shout out to Nilson Rosario, who's watching.
Say that again.
Nilson Rosario.
He's running for
at large in Lawrence.
Oh, is he really?
Good
luck to him.
Also, Ellie Durkin is here, and Nancy Parchuk, who used to be my former boss at the Oliver School. Hi.
Really?
Yeah.
I worked at the Oliver School.
Really?
I
Emmanuel Soto is also watching with us. Thank you, everyone. Please like, share, comment. Tell us where you're watching from.
Yeah, do that. So, sticking in Lawrence for a couple seconds is not going to be Not going to be a very long show, although I probably just ate a half an hour out of it, right? So we also learned yesterday, as if we could transition from that to anything really, right?
That's tough.
I don't know. You know, it's funny. I don't know how people on the news do it. Like you watch Channel 7 News, they come up and they go, a baby was killed today, and the body was strewn all over the highway, and and they show the mother crying, and then they go, and in sports, like how do you do that? Like
The transition, yeah.
Right, yeah, like it didn't really mean
Heartless.
anything. Like they're just acting, and I don't.
I mean, it's a profession.
I guess I have a hard time understanding when they do that. But the city council, so I got a memo yesterday. I got a letter yesterday. Somebody was nice enough to leak to me a letter from the city attorney in Lawrence, saying that the Lawrence mayor's fiscal budget proposal for 2025-2026 is now codified into law because the city council didn't do their job. So here's how this works. And by the way, Mark LaPlante, if he's watching, if Mark LaPlante is watching, you remember this because when Mike Sullivan was mayor, he sent down his proposed budget, and here's how it's supposed to happen. The mayor's supposed to send down their budget to the city council for the next year. The city council can make changes. They can make deductions, but they can't make line item changes. So, like, they can't say Carlotta Castillo is a secretary in the mayor's office, and we're going to line out. You know, we're gonna redline her job position out of the budget. They can't do that.
Okay.
Because that's a
Just
function
like the final amount.
But
for
they can
each
say, well,
department?
but she gets paid out of the mayor's budget, out of the mayor's office budget,
Okay.
and she gets paid out of that. So we're going to deduct her pay. This happened to Janie Dinatale in Methuen a couple of years ago. They said we're going to deduct what her pay would be, what her pay is in the thing, from the final total.
Okay.
And then it's up to the mayor to figure out if he can cut somewhere else to keep you with that amount, or if he's going to deduct that money out of your pay. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
So the council can make cuts, but they can only make cuts to departments, not line items. And they can either vote to approve it, vote to reject it, or they can, there's something, vote to approve it, vote to reject it, or vote to reduce it. If they don't do any of those three things within 45 days, there's a sunset clause in the charter that says if they don't take action, any action, then the proposed budget becomes the budget.
Okay.
So that way they just can't delay it. Now, one thing that they can do, and this happened a lot under Mike Sullivan, is they could vote to table the budget, which is taking action, and then the mayor will work on a 30-day budget. So here's what happens. The mayor submits his budget for 2025-2026, which starts July 1st.
Okay. The fiscal year is July 1st.
Fiscal year starts July 1st and ends June 30th. So right around now in June, they're talking about the next budget that starts July 1st, and he submits the budget, and they reject it, or they table it. Now, that's taking action, right? So now it's safe. That means come July 1st, you take last year's budget, you divide it by 12, and then you have a 30-day budget based on those numbers.
Okay.
And so you get a 30-day
Like a
extension, right? A temporary 30-day extension while the council gets their act together with the mayor and they try to work out some kind of a deal on what's in the budget, what shouldn't be in the budget. Maybe they're mad that somebody's getting raises they shouldn't get. Maybe they're mad that some vendor's getting money they shouldn't get. A lot of those things are very valid. The city council has a lot of valid problems with the mayor's budget. Well, some of them are. I mean, Brian's not. You're right. Brian,
Others just want the attention
Right.
and ego
Right.
and politics.
Wendy
to it.
Luzon's voting no on everything, no matter what, right? But that's how the process works. It's made that way so that government can keep operating, and the politicians can get their act together and figure out what the final yearly budget is. They didn't do any of that, and I heard city councils on Spanish language radio. I was with a Spanish friend of mine, so he's translating for me because my Spanish isn't as good as it really should be at this point. It really should be a lot better by
Should
now.
be.
And he's translating for me. And there's a city council on the air yesterday or the day before saying, "Oh no, we've got another 2 weeks because the mayor submitted an amended budget." And the city attorney ruling that came out yesterday said, no, just because he submitted an amended budget, that does not mean at all that you restart the clock. You don't restart the clock for the 45 days. You have 45 days from the time that the mayor submits a budget to the Lawrence City Council to have them take action. And they could have taken action. They could have voted no. They could have voted no, gone to a 30-day budget for July, and that would have given them 30 days to work out a deal with the mayor and the city council to say, why were you voting no? What was it that you didn't like? Let's work it out. Let's come to a compromise.
They had
Let's come to an agreement.
45
I know.
days. Why give the 30-day extension and all of that? That should have been done. That is a top priority in any business. I've worked with budgets with 6 figures in different places, and that is number one priority.
Yeah. Well,
that's your number one role, the
well,
budget. 45 days?
I know.
45 days?
I know, but they're very busy trying to micromanage how the mayor does his job. Every meeting, it's, oh, he gave this one a raise. Oh, then we don't like this person. Oh, why are they using that vendor? That vendor's friends with the mayor. And
don't
so
insult the intelligence, because that's the big thing. Like, now everyone's insulting them. If anyone is saying anything and has any opinion, cry me a river.
Listen, most of those councils are very smart people. That wasn't fair. That wasn't fair.
Sorry.
You're going to get me in trouble now.
I don't care.
I just think that sometimes they focus so much on hatred of the mayor or trying to micromanage. They think their job in Lawrence, and, you know, Methuen up until recently has done this too, but they think their job is to micromanage the day-to-day operations of this. Someone will call a counselor and say, did you know so-and-so is related to so-and-so and they got a job? That is not your purview. That is not your job. You have no say over that. You have 2 jobs under the charter. 2 main jobs. You know, like a couple of small things on top of it. But you have 2 main jobs as a city council. Budget, number one, budget. Number 1, budget. And policy, meaning ordinances. So if you want to make a city ordinance that people can't mow their lawn before 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning, that's the purview of the city council. Now, the mayor still has to sign that. They still, you know, the co-equal branches of government, they still have to work together.
Yeah.
But the main job, according to the charter, in most cities, including Lawrence and Methuen, is budget, number 1, and policy, number 2. And then the other thing that councils can do, or by charter do, is they have to approve department heads when department heads are appointed. So they don't approve every cop, they don't approve every firefighter, every teacher, every clerk. But if you're hiring a new police chief, they've got to vote. If you're hiring a new fire chief, they have to vote. If you're hiring a new DPW director, they have to vote. That's within their purview. That's all the city council's supposed to do, and they can't even do that. They can't even do that. Now,
I think they were too busy because there was a lot of events going on. Semana Hispana.
Oh,
I
yeah.
saw a bunch of pictures, a lot of campaigning going on, but they were not getting down to what they are supposed to be doing, the budget. 45 days you had to do the budget. Incredible.
Yeah. So I don't know what else to say about that. It's an election year, and here's what I'm seeing out of the city council. I'm seeing they're not reining in the city attorney, who is, by the way, still holding my public records. I had a long conversation with the Secretary of State's office yesterday. I was really unhappy with the conversation. I'm going to have another conversation with them again today. I think we've come to an agreement, but I was not happy about the tone. But they haven't reined in the city attorney. I leaked to them, personally, information that the homeless coordinator was trying to steal money. They did nothing about it. I leaked to them, and they even said it on this show when John Regal was here, that you have a CAFO who appointed herself to be comptroller and is overseeing her own expenses, including the overtime of her husband who works in DPW and her son who works in the IT department. I gave all of that to certain city councils. They've done nothing about it. So every time I reach out, especially to a certain South Lawrence city councilor, and I give them information, they do nothing. They do nothing. They think their job is to protect the insiders. They think their job is to stop the city from getting sued. That's not your job. Your job is to find out why people want to sue the city and correct the problem so it doesn't happen, not to stop people from suing the city. You see the difference? What I heard was, Tom, you're threatening to sue the city over your public records. I'm not talking to you anymore. Really, Stephanie? Really? Really? You're supposed to be on my side. You're supposed to work for me, okay? But you can't do that. You're not reining in the city attorney. You're not turning over public records. You're not concerned about the corruption that I personally have tipped you off about, and not just Stephanie, but many of them. But you won't do your job on the budget either? Like, if you were doing your job on the other stuff, you could go, okay, well, they're busy, right? They got stuff to do, but they're not even doing that. They're not even doing that.
Power trip.
Now, you know what's really sad about all of this is back in February or January, I wrote an editorial touting how great and professional the Lawrence City Council was. This happens every time I congratulate somebody in public for doing a good job. They say, hold my beer, and they turn around and they do the exact opposite. I compared them to the Methuen City Council and talked about how professional they were and how they put aside their personal feelings. And even though you have some of them that do get up there and they do attack Brian and do that, for the most part, they're still working together. For the most part, they're still doing their job. And ever since I wrote that, every single week, it's been a cascade of problems for the Lawrence City Council.
You can't compliment certain people. It gets to their head. They feel empowered. They feel important. Some people just cannot take a compliment.
I don't mind that much. I don't mind that certain city councilors are what we call selfie councilors. All they do is go to events and take selfies. That's all they do. And then they brag about, I got a park named, or I got, but they're
street corner.
But they're not doing their actual job, right? They're not when I call a council, when I have lunch with a councilor and I say, by the way, I heard that this is going on. I looked into it and it's true. There's a certain city employee that's doing something wrong. There's a certain city employee now they want to micromanage everything Brian DePena does until you give them a name of somebody they like. Then if you tell them that somebody they like, when I went to them and I said Kelly Frazier's trying to steal $200,000, I got, yeah, but you and Debo just don't get along.
Conflict of interest.
It was every
she campaigns
right.
for all of them.
Oh yeah, it was every excuse not to do your job and call it out. Right? But then if it's somebody that you don't like that something's happening to, now you want to micromanage everything that the mayor does. And so my only advice to the Lawrence City Council is please, stop doing what you're doing and stop doing it the way that you're doing it. The one thing that I will say is at least Giovanni Rodriguez, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, he can't control his council, which, by the way, is actually a good thing, right? You don't want a council president that controls votes. And he doesn't. And I think that's a good thing. And I think he's actually a really good council president. But I did have a conversation with him whereby he stated, I am going to hold him accountable for this. He said to me on the phone that he agrees with me that when a member of the public submits a public records request and is asking for public documents, that it shouldn't cost anything. We're already paying city employees. We've already bought the paper. We've already paid for the Xerox machine. We already paid for the computer that's being generated on. Why should members of the public have to pay anything? So I said, well, if that's the way you feel, you're the council president. Put it on the agenda. Still waiting. And if it doesn't go on the next agenda, in fact, I might not even wait for the next agenda.
We should go to the next meeting.
I might just put it on the next agenda myself.
We should go to the next
Most
meeting.
people, we should. Most people don't know that you as a member of the public can put something on the city council agenda. So I think what we might do is, if it's not on the next city agenda, maybe we'll just do it ourselves. Once again, it takes someone who's not a city councilor to do the city councilor's jobs. I was hoping after that conversation he would just put it on the agenda. And my friend Greg Del Rosario, I will say this, and I like him and I'm campaigning for him. In fact, I think I'm introducing him in a couple of weeks as fundraiser. But he needs to step up on this too. Like, we have a lot of private conversations where he gives me these, oh, yeah, Tom, you're right. Oh, I agree with you. But then I watch the meetings and I'm waiting like, okay, so Greg, when are you going to say something? And I'm still waiting. So I want to see something. I want to see action.
So what have they been doing for the last 45 days?
They've been criticizing the mayor.
Oh, because he was wearing a white shirt yesterday, long sleeve. I mean, I criticized him on that, too. It's pretty hot.
Yeah.
Hi, Lisi Rivas. She's watching as well.
He was drinking coffee with his left hand instead of his right hand.
Shame. Shame on Brian.
And listen, here's the thing about the Lawrence City Council. I want to give them at least a little bit of praise. They're not wrong with some of the criticisms that they make of the DePena administration. Brian's not perfect. He has made some mistakes. He's made some serious mistakes. And they have every right to criticize him, but not at the council table, all right? You want to criticize him on Facebook. The council table is for city business, and your business is budget and policy. And so for the last 45 days, what you've not been doing is your job on the budget, while what you have been doing is criticizing the mayor. And if you stop doing that, and by the way, stop being two-faced, stop behind his back attacking him, and then on the election, refusing to support Manny Gonzalez. Because I go to Manny Gonzalez's events. I don't see any of you councilors. But I know for sure that 3 of you are supporting him, but you don't want Brian to know that you're supporting him. because you're afraid of backlash if Brian gets reelected. And at this point, it looks like Brian's probably going to get reelected. And I know that Manny Gonzalez is trying very hard.
We have some questions here.
Okay,
if you don't mind.
I'll be happy to answer whatever questions I can.
Yes, Emmanuel Soto, he wants to know, how can we put something on the agenda?
So you send an email to the city council. So whatever the issue is. So let's say you want to change an ordinance for. We'll use you can't mow your lawn before 8 o'clock on a Sunday.
Can we make it 10?
You write up. Okay, fine. 10 o'clock. You write up again. Send an email to the city. Go to the city council website.
Okay.
Go to where they have their emails. You can either email the clerk of the city council or the city council president, or any council really, but council president's probably better, or the clerk, and say, I would like to put on the next city council agenda the following item. Now, here's how the process works. By the way, this was part of my editorial. This is one of the reasons I said Lawrence gets things done better than Methuen, because they have a better process. The one thing, thanks to Mark LaPlante and some others, the one thing that makes Lawrence much more efficient at what they're doing at the city council level, even when you have incompetent councilors, is they have a great process. So in Methuen, you submit something on the agenda, they talk about it that night, they can take a vote that night.
Okay.
And a lot of times they end up ambushing city workers or somebody and humiliating someone that didn't know this was going to be discussed because it went on the agenda last minute.
Got it.
In Lawrence, they don't do that. In Lawrence, the two things Lawrence does better is elections and city council business. So in Lawrence, what you do is you're going to submit to the city council something you want to put on the agenda. What are you laughing at?
David Doyle said, Tom for Lawrence City Council
auditor. No,
auditor.
Oh,
to audit.
Right, yes. Audit, I will do that. I will do that. So if you want to submit something and put it on the Lawrence City Council, the process is this. You submit it, it goes on the next agenda, but you can't talk about it. So that way, it's set up this way so that there's no grandstanding, right? It goes on. If it goes on the agenda, you can talk about public participation. Public participation, you can get 2 minutes, you can say whatever you want. But when the item comes up on the agenda, there's no discussion. It immediately gets sent to a subcommittee. Now, there's several subcommittees. You have a subcommittee on public safety. So if it has to do with the police, it'll go to public safety. You have a personnel subcommittee. Maybe what you want to do is you want to pass some kind of a rule that says city workers can't take cars home. Cars home, right? So that would go to the personnel committee. There's a budget committee. Maybe you're looking for an appropriation. Maybe you're a nonprofit and you want to put something on the agenda because you want to get some community development money for your nonprofit. That would go to the budget committee. So it will go to a subcommittee, and then you show up at the subcommittee meeting, and that's where you talk. That's where all the sausage is made. When TMF submitted for a permit to use the bus station, we put it on the agenda, and 100 people showed up, and we told them, we told you not to come tonight because you can't speak. They were all very upset. So it went to a subcommittee. It went to the ordinance committee. So if you want to change an ordinance, it'll go to the ordinance committee. So we all showed up at the ordinance committee. There's probably about 50 of us. And we answered questions from the council. We made our pitch. We said why we wanted to do it. And then the subcommittee will vote either to send it back to the council with a favorable recommendation or an unfavorable recommendation. Now, the full council doesn't always listen to what the subcommittee says, but usually they do. And so you put an item on the agenda, and it's going to be at least 2 weeks before the council is going to actually take any action on it. And in between, you go to your subcommittee meetings. You work out the details. They'll vote to send it up. Sometimes it takes 3 months. Sometimes it takes 5. But eventually, they'll vote to send it up to the city council, full council. And then if you want to speak again and they ask you to come up and speak on an issue and say, maybe councilors that didn't bother to go to the subcommittee meeting or watch it, maybe you'll have, Greg Delasario maybe he's not on the ordinance committee, so he's got a question that was answered at committee, and he might ask you a question to come up and talk about, and then the full council will vote. The other interesting part of the Lawrence City Council charter is if they vote something down, you can't bring it back for a year.
Okay. Well, Emmanuel says, love this information. Thank you. Kevin Alvarez says, maybe they like the budget, but don't want to be on the record as approving it.
Hey, it's happened. It's happened. For sure it's happened. I remember when Mike Sullivan walked in and they were yelling. He was in his second term on the council. He was a very hostile council, and they were trying to micromanage everything, and they were trying to cut everything. They were actually trying to cut line items out of the budget, and he's standing up there telling you can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do it. And so they postponed that meeting, and they were at the 45th day, and they postponed it to the next day. And so the next day he came in, and Patrick Blanchette started eviscerating him personally, like really personal attacks. And Mike was the nicest guy in the world, like Brian is. And he sat there and he took it. And when Blanchette was done, he walked up to the microphone and said, well, I just got the letter from the city attorney, And because you didn't take action within 45 days, this budget is now law. And he turned around and he walked out. And they were furious. And I actually talked to councilors afterwards, and Patrick Blanchett wasn't one of them, but a few of them told me, yeah, I purposely didn't vote on it because I knew that this would get dragged. If we did a 30-day budget, it would have dragged on for 6 more months. So I didn't make a motion because I just wanted to just sunset. So that's called sunsetting. When you don't take action within a certain amount of time, then it becomes law. So by the way, we have this at the state level too. If the legislature passes a law that says it's illegal, we'll make something up. It's illegal to wear your seatbelt on Fridays, right? And it goes to the governor's office, and he doesn't sign it within a certain amount of time, it automatically becomes law. That's called sunsetting. And it also happens in Congress. If Congress submits a bill and the Congress and Senate vote on it and it goes to the president and the president doesn't take action within a certain amount of time, it automatically becomes law. And so this is where your Lawrence City Councils found themselves. The one thing that's the most important in the charter for the City Council to do, budget, they screwed the pooch.
Well,
they
you know
screwed the
what?
pooch.
I didn't want to say it. It's going to sound really mean. I think they're just really shaken up by the rock that was thrown during one of their meetings.
Well, can I address that? I know. Listen, I know I made fun of that, and I had a long conversation with the council afterwards, and I felt bad. Giovanni Rodriguez is right about one thing, and I know I joked about it, and because I joked about it online.
You can joke about it because everyone's safe. It's okay.
I know. But because I joked about it, apparently I opened the door for Spanish language radio, who then just eviscerated the council for the next 3 days, like endlessly. I had no idea that Maji and all these people actually follow my page as closely as they do. So I got a call from a council. I'm not going to say who it was. We had a long conversation about it, and he said, "Tom, listen, I know it's funny because nothing really bad happened, but we are in an environment where political violence is becoming more and more common. And Lawrence is a violent community. For better or worse, Lawrence is a violent community. And we don't want to open the door and be joking about this in a time when that might inspire someone to commit some real violence." And he's right about that. And I told him that I would correct it at some point, that at some point I would talk about it, and I would at least give that side of the story. I get why they are as skittish as they are. I just wish that they were as skittish about other stuff.
The budget?
Well, I mean, about things that are going on in the community that they should be more skittish about, that they should be more concerned about. The police department being infiltrated. I'm vaguely mentioning it because there are people who know what's going on, and it's not good.
Yeah.
And it's putting people's lives in jeopardy.
I wasn't making fun of them. I was being empathetic.
Listen, I was making fun of them.
What a twist.
I was making fun of them, and because I think it's funny. I think it was funny. But after talking to the councils, I get where they're coming from.
I mean, it is scary, but nothing happens, so it's okay to laugh about it.
But
it's one of those things.
But we don't want to encourage anybody either by dismissing it. And that's where he was coming from. He said, listen, you're kind of encouraging people to do more because you're dismissing it. And he's right. He's not wrong about that. So I want to give them their flowers, so to speak, is what you say in the Dominican.
Yeah.
Is that a Dominican thing or a millennial thing?
I think that's a millennial thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
give them the
Well,
flowers. So
give
we
them
do
his
have
flowers.
quite a few people here who are running for city council. Watching, so I hope they're taking notes. We have Lisi Rivas, who's running for council.
Okay, if you guys are running for city council, listen very carefully to what I'm going to tell you if you're running for city council. I don't care whether you're one of my candidates or not. What you need to do is you need to go to City Hall and ask how much money the city of Lawrence is spending on legal fees, inside counsel, outside counsel, and lawsuits. How much are we paying out on lawsuits? How much are we paying for outside counsel, outside law firms that we're paying for, while we're paying a city attorney in Lawrence to do that work, who's not doing that work? Now, if even 2 or 3 of you get that information from City Hall and start pressuring them to release that information, start calling your councilors, start emailing your councilors, email the mayor's office, and ask that question and demand those documents, I guarantee you're going to have enough material to win your race. Because there's a lot there. And if I wasn't tied up...
I wonder if they can also do a records request
they
for
can.
the same thing that you're asking for.
Well,
see how that works. You should have done that. You should have gotten 10 people to do the same records request and see what answers they all got and compare them all to see if it was all the same.
Right.
So I have a feeling it's not going to be.
The amount of money Lawrence is spending on lawsuits because you have an incompetent city attorney and because you've had incompetent city attorneys in the past, on top of the fact that you're paying outside counsel for some of the shenanigans that are going on, for some of the ridiculousness that's going on in the city of Lawrence. Greg Del Rosario talked about it on Spanish language radio one day. He mentioned a specific case. If I could remember it, I would tell you, because I know they don't want me to tell you, but I can't remember what it was. He got a call within minutes of going off Spanish language radio from the city attorney telling him, quote, "You can't talk about that." So this is going to lead me to another very quick topic. Some of you people watching are going to get elected, right? If there's that many candidates watching, you're going to get reelected.
Oh, yeah.
If you're running in Methuen, you're going to get reelected. No one can tell you what you can't talk about. They're going to try. They're going to say it's against the law. You're going to but what they say, there's nothing. And I had lunch with an elected official on Monday who's new, who was blown away when I told her this. She said, well, they're telling me that I can't talk about certain thing that happened in executive session. And I said, no, you can. They can't tell you that you can't. She said, well, they said about lawsuits. You're right. People can sue the department. They can sue the school system. They can sue the city. They can't sue you. You work for the public. Your power is derived from the people. The people have the power. You represent them. You don't represent you. You don't represent your fellow city councilors. You don't represent your fellow school committee members. You represent the people. And so when a city attorney, a school department attorney, a superintendent, a city lawyer, a city mayor tells you, you can't say that because you find out something going on in the town, it's not that you can say anything you want. They're lying to you. The first thing that happens when somebody new gets elected is the people on the inside that are trying to protect the insiders will become your friends immediately. They're going to put their arm around you. Anything you need, you let us know. Hey, you got any questions? I'll help walk you through it. And they're going to be your best friend because they want to control you. They want to make sure when you find out about corruption. Jessica Finicaro fell into this. It was so frustrating because she was so good her first term. She fell into this when she was in Methuen. She found out about stuff that was going on. But because they told her that she legally was not allowed to speak about what they talked about in executive session, she wouldn't address it. She wouldn't do anything about it. She wouldn't blow the whistle on it. I would say, look, we're friends. Just point me in the right direction. She wouldn't even hear of it. She was insulted that I even asked because they drummed into her head, as they will drum into all of your heads if you get elected, that you can't, and that's the word they'll use, you can't. But what they're telling you is, if you do, you open up the city to a lawsuit. You might open up the school department to a lawsuit. But there's nothing they can do to you. When Tom Duggan sat on the school committee, I remember going in executive session, my very first or second meeting. Executive session means you get to vote outside the view of the public. You go into a back room. You can only go into that back room for a specific reason. You have to state that reason publicly. You have to come out and say, we're going to have an executive session in 5 minutes. We're here to talk about teacher contracts. And you can't really negotiate a teacher's contract out in the open because all the other unions will see what those unions are asking for, and it hurts your bargaining position. So they go in private. But you can only talk about what's discussed in private. I mean, you can only talk about what is on the agenda that says what you can discuss. So you can't say we're going into executive session for the purposes of discussing a teacher contract and then get back there and start talking about the budget. Right? You can't do that. That's illegal. And by the way, if they do that, that means everything discussed in executive session is public. You've broken the seal. You're not there now for the reason that you said you were going to be there for. So there are a lot of things that the insiders will tell you, Stephanie, that you're not allowed to do, but you are allowed to do. There's no ramification. You're not going to go to jail. If you're a city councilor and you actually blow the whistle on something or actually take charge of an issue, and they say, well, you can't do that. Well, you're going to get the city sued. Well, maybe you will get the city sued. Sometimes the city needs to get sued. Sometimes there are things going on that if the city doesn't get sued, it never gets corrected. How many times has the city council in Lawrence, Methuen, or anywhere else had to change their policies because they got sued and they lost? And now we've got to change our policy because we've been doing it wrong all along. Here's one for you. I'll just give you this one. In Methuen, they have a policy. Everyone thinks it because there's a policy that it doesn't have to conform with the Constitution. Your policies don't override the Constitution. In Methuen, they have a policy that says you can't address anyone by name at public participation. Totally unconstitutional. Totally unconstitutional. it also has something in there about decorum that you can't swear. If I want to get up at a Methuen City Council meeting, and I want to say that I don't know, make something up, like I don't know who the DPW director is these days over there. If I get up there and I said DPW director Jim Smith is a piece of shit, and they start banging their gavel, that's a $100,000 lawsuit that I'm going to win. That's a First Amendment constitutional lawsuit that I'm going to win before I walk out of that room. That's a lawsuit that never gets to court, because when the lawyers see it and the lawyers look up the law, they're going to be like, holy crap, did we screw up? So there's nothing that, as a candidate, if you get elected, there's nothing that you can say or do unless you're slandering someone. Like there's always an exception. You can't slander someone. You can't accuse someone of a crime if they're not committing it. You can't give out a police officer's home address, right? It puts their life in jeopardy. You can't leak someone's social security number, their date of birth. Like, that's all reasonable, right? But everything else that you do, everything else that you see, everything else that you know, the attorneys and the insiders are going to circle the wagons and tell you you can't, and you can. You absolutely can. And so when it happened to Tom Duggan back in 1996, way back before they invented fire,
I was 5 years old.
I walked out. Oh, God. You're killing me, kid. I walked out of that city council meeting with John Huzianitis and Ralph Carrero and Betty LaCharity and Dr. Jim Sweeney and who else was on that committee and whoever else was on that committee. I walked out. I went right over to the Eagle Tribune reporter, John McCone, and I told him everything that happened. And they were horrified. They admonished me. They censured me. We're going to censure you. I said, okay, well, what does that mean? Well, that means we're going to say really, really bad.
Shame on you.
I'm like, well, so I can still show up at meetings, right? Well, yeah, because you were elected by the public. Oh, and I can still vote on things, right? Well, yeah, you were elected by the public. And you can't throw me out of city council executive sessions anymore because you're afraid I'm going to tell the Tribune because I was elected by the public. So this is what I'm saying. If you're a candidate and you win, you need. I would love to teach a class. I would love to teach a class.
Well, someone mentioned it. They said that you should be, more involved.
I would love to teach a class on if you're a first-time elected official and you get elected. I would love to teach a class on what your rights really are.
Everyone who's running at the moment should read over what their rights are and what their responsibilities will be, because you can get questions about it, and if you don't know, it's gonna look a little.
Now in Methuen, you've got some really interesting races going on. In Lawrence, you've got the mayor's race between Brian DePina and Juan Manny Gonzalez, who's a hero firefighter. If the election was today, Brian, I think, wins.
Yeah, I think so too.
Manny still has a shot, though. Manny has a legitimate shot.
He has to remove some people out of his campaign.
Well, I think he's starting to not listen. I don't know that he has to remove them, but he has to stop listening to certain people. Okay, all right, don't hurt me. Okay.
Kelly? Debo?
Are they still involved in his campaign?
I think so.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, yeah.
I didn't know that. But I still think he's got a shot. What gives him a shot? Without Lenita Dykes, he's got no shot.
Okay.
Because he's too nice. And he, as a guy that ran for mayor once before and didn't really have a professional campaign staff, I don't think, and this isn't a criticism, it's just what it is, I don't think he understands the mechanics of working an election. And that's not something that most people know unless you've actually done it for other campaigns. Yeah. His campaign manager is an absolute expert, top of the line at the mechanics of an election. When to send out certain types of mailings, when to do certain types of interviews, what to put in mailings, what not to put in mailings. A lot of first-time candidates. I saw John Regal. I saw him making a couple of rookie mistakes. It's not his fault. He's a rookie, right? Yeah. He's just starting out. He's making first-time mistakes.
I want to clarify something now that you mentioned him. Some people are confused. They're saying I'm his campaign manager. I am not a campaign manager. I don't do campaign management for any type of political, campaigns.
You could go down the line.
Down the line, but right now I'm not ready. Okay. I know when I'm ready for things, and I know when I'm not.
But I'm seeing some candidates making some rookie mistakes, and I think if Juan Manny Gonzalez was left to his own devices, he would have no shot because he doesn't understand the mechanics of a campaign. And that's not a slam at him. Like, we're all good at some things, and there's some things I'm not good at. But he has been smart enough to hire someone who's an absolute expert. Yeah. And by the way, the woman that he hired is also DJ Beauregard's campaign manager. Okay. So I'm pretty sure DJ's going to win.
Did they hire already a chief of staff in Methuen?
So let's get to that. So they hired Jim McCarty, as I said they would.
Oh.
Remember months ago when I said
I wanted to apply for it. You mentioned it the other day. I could be a chief of
So
staff.
so when Jim McCarty was a city councilor like 15 minutes ago, and Jane Di Natale was the chief of staff for Mayor Perry, he made a motion to cut her pay because he didn't like her. It wasn't that like, we need the money. It wasn't for any legitimate reason. He didn't like her. He didn't like the advice she was giving him.
Okay.
He didn't like that he had to go through her to get to the mayor because he hated her, because she was on the wrong political clique. She wasn't in his clique, let's say. So he made a motion to redline her job out of the department, which, as we explained, you can't do.
Okay.
You can take that money out of the mayor's office department budget, but you can't get rid of her. That's the mayor's decision.
Okay.
So he tried to cut all of her money out of the budget, and that failed. So then he came back and he made another motion to cut half of her pay out of the budget, and that passed. So then the mayor had to make the decision on where he could try and make up her half of her pay so he could keep her, because she's a lawyer, she's a former prosecutor, she knows her stuff, and he really needed someone like Jana. And he eventually moved some things around. She did take a small reduction in pay, but it wasn't significant enough for her to leave, at least at the time. So that's what Jim McCurdy did. And he did it because that's the kind of person that he is.
Fast forward.
Fast forward to now. He's now been hired to be the chief of staff for the mayor and the city council on Monday. You can't make this up. I laughed so hard I had to rewind it 3 times just to watch it.
Karma is
the city council voted. I think it was $10,000. They voted. I think it was $10,000 or $14,000. They voted to cut from his pay as the chief of staff for the mayor. Now again, DJ Beauregard can say, well, maybe I can make up that $14,000 by not purchasing so many paper clips or paper or Xerox machines or laptops or whatever. But it was fun to watch the karma come around being done to him, what he was trying to do to someone else, and just for political reasons. Listen, there are times when the Lawrence City Council, the Methuen City Council, might have to do something to a city employee because they have to, right? Things are happening. Maybe somebody does something wrong. They've got to set a tone. They've got to set an example. All of that I get. But when it's just for pure political purposes, for a guy that sat on the council and cried and whined and clutched his pearls every 2 weeks about the people with political connections getting hired out of the mayor's office when it was Neil Perry, now he's the politically connected guy being hired in the mayor's office under DJ Beauregard. You can't make it up. Like, if he wasn't the guy sitting there complaining about it at every freaking meeting,
well, what is his
it wouldn't be so
profession?
bad. So he just passed the bar. He was, I think he was like the 4th lowest in his class, right? Well, you know what they call a doctor who's last in his class?
What?
Doctor.
Oh, okay.
Right? You still passed, right? You still passed.
That's true.
So, but he couldn't get a job. He was working with a former friend of mine over at with the Tashi Law office. They were working together doing cases. But he couldn't make it work because he's not that good of a lawyer. He can't really get a job. He only got on the city council because he's related to a certain family in Methuen that have family members in DPW and the police department. His mom is married into, or maybe it's her boyfriend. I don't know if she's actually married to him.
You know what I don't like about Methuen? I love Methuen. I'm from Methuen.
Everyone's related to somebody.
Everyone's related to someone. It's really hard to get into anything, any type of position in Methuen. It really is. It's not accessible to everybody. You have to have connections. You got to have somebody in the council. You got to have somebody in the city hall that's been there for years and years and years. I would love to work for Methuen, but I can never. That would be like the last thing.
The problem would be, because you're connected to me, it would just be an endless onslaught of pressure on you.
I can take pressure.
That you're going to lose your job if you keep hanging out with Tom, and eventually you would, because that's how they operate.
I can take pressure.
By the way, Lawrence doesn't do that, and I stand by most of what I said about the Lawrence City Council in my last editorial. Oh, not my last editorial. In the editorial in January or February, where I said the Lawrence City Council is far and away better than Methuen, and that Lawrence City Hall is run better than Methuen. It really is. We can complain about the budget, and we can complain about certain councilors, and they're certainly not doing their job lately. But overall, they're still far and away better.
And they are respectful. You see them in the streets, they will say hi to you.
Yes,
they say hi to
Even
you.
if you're mean to them on Facebook, they're still going to be respectful. I really thought by now Stephanie Infante was going to unfriend me on Facebook. I'm glad that she didn't.
Oh, okay.
Because I've been very rough on her.
Let me check if she unfriended me.
And by the way, I'm going to continue to be very rough on her because she's not doing her job. when it comes to the public records thing and certain other things that I've fed her that she's done nothing about. But that's a political disagreement. On Father's Day, I still said a prayer for her and her dad. I love her as a human being.
Yeah.
And that's what most people in this business don't understand.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say his name, but you and I went to a fundraiser for a certain candidate, and he seemed to, because he didn't politically agree with a certain person, he seemed to think that he was a bad person. And he talked about him like he was a bad person.
Yeah.
And I tried to carefully caution him to, listen, some of these people you might not like what they do in politics, but that doesn't make them bad people. A lot of these people are
We
very...
can agree to disagree.
Right. A lot of these people are very good people. Even people in politics that I don't like in politics, I like as human beings. There's been a lot of times when I've been out having drinks or having dinner with someone, and someone would walk by and go, "Hi, Tom. Hi, Mayor so-and-so," and then they keep walking and turn and go, "Wait, what?" I thought you guys hated each other.
Because at the end of the day, we're human beings. We live in the same
well,
area.
That's it. And,
that's what it matters.
And
we
you know
don't
what?
have to agree to
And
everything.
a lot of these people are good people. And listen, everyone screws up. Everyone makes mistakes. The problem that people have with me is that my job is to call out their mistakes, so it seems like I'm a bad person sometimes. I'm being mean. I'm being nitpicking. And,
Racist.
And I'm the worst racist in the world. Oh, my God.
You're doing it wrong, though, but you're racist.
I am doing it wrong, yes. I don't know any racists to give scholarships to Latino kids, but...
Guess what?
I'm going to
racist
try.
Too.
I'm going to
racist
try.
Too.
Right.
I'm racist too, and I belong to, you know.
Well, I've had
Latino
people. I've had people even recently say that I'm racist because of my position on immigration, on deporting.
That's why I'm racist
Right,
too, because I agree with the whole situation that's
so I
happening
go,
right now.
oh, well, I guess that makes Brian DePina a racist too. Then wait, but he's Dominican. I thought Dominicans couldn't be racist because
No.
according to Democrats, if
Only
you're black or
white.
Latino, only white people can be racist.
Yeah, and only us can be oppressed.
Right. Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
But now I'm part of the racist
So
club.
the Methuen election is heating up. Some of the Lawrence elections are starting to heat up. District A looks like it's going to be a fun race. There's a lot
Okay.
of people in that race, and I'm
Yeah.
like you. I may even do a debate here. In Methuen,
You
you've
should.
got the at-large race is starting to explode. I'm really, really hoping that Ryan DeZoglio jumps in that race. Why are you laughing?
Because someone is running and you're not very happy about.
Oh, she pulled out of that race.
Oh, she did?
And now
Oh.
she's running for Central District. So now what we need is we need two candidates in Central District
Oh, God.
to stop Sharon Burchell from getting on. Because let me tell you, if you think you've got problems now, you put Sharon Burchell, it doesn't matter how good the other councilors are.
I'm scared. I live in Methuen.
Trust me when I tell you. Trust me when I tell you. But in the at-large race, you've got, and I hope I can remember all of them off the top of my head. Wanda Santos is running, good friend of ours. John
yours.
Drew.
Of yours.
Well, John Drew, a good friend of the Valley Patriot.
Oh, the Valley Patriot. Okay.
John Drew, whom we've known forever, who's a union guy and has the money and is very smart, is going to be a force to be reckoned with for sure in that race. Jaina Zani Pesci,
The sexiest woman alive.
sexiest woman alive, although stop losing weight. She's probably going to top the ticket. You got Ryan DeZoglio thinking about jumping in that race. I really hope that he does. And then you got Dan Shabilia. And I'm going to say it again to all of my friends in the schools. I know you think this guy is your hero. He is not your hero. This guy is an opportunist and will throw your ass under the bus the minute he doesn't need you anymore. And I see teachers out there cheering this guy on. He's not the guy you should be cheering on. I'm telling you right now. And, you know, they're not going to listen because they never do. Because what do I know? I've only been doing this since 1985, right? What do I know? I don't know.
Right.
What can
What
I know?
experience do you have?
Right? And they never listen. And then 2 years from now, when Dan Shabili's on the city council and he's making the motion to cut the school budget, and these teachers are calling me on the phone going, oh, my God, I can't believe it. What can we do? You can get in a fucking time machine, and you can go back 2 years and listen to me when I first told you this guy is not your hero. And
You're going to be like, I told you so.
it happens so often.
Everything you've told me since the day I began working with you has come out to be true.
Yep.
Like you should say, give it time, give
Yeah.
it time, and it always
And I
comes
remember
out
you
true.
have said, you looked at me with like stink eye a couple times going, come on.
No way.
No.
And then it comes true.
And then, yeah, and I'm not going to say I'm perfect, but listen, don't ask me to fix your car. I'm terrible at it.
Yeah.
Right? Don't ask me to rearrange your house. I'm not good at that either.
Don't ask you to dance salsa.
Yeah, don't ask me to do that. But when it comes to this stuff, I've been doing it my whole life. I live, breathe, eat, and sleep it every day. It's what I do. And I'm very good at it. And I'm not perfect, but I can tell you for sure, I spotted Dan Shabilia right out of the gate when he ran for mayor. the biggest phony going. This guy doesn't believe in anything. He doesn't mean what he says. He will shake your hand and then walk away and cut you down, and you're still in the room. Like the minute he turns his back on you, he's cutting you down while you're still in the room. So he's going to run, but he's because he's on the school committee and he's making noise, which is kind of weird, right? So the school committee, here's what's really weird. This is what the teachers don't seem to understand. They don't seem to be getting this, and I don't get that at all. I'm friends with a lot of them. He voted, along with the rest of the school committee, -3. He voted to extend Superintendent Kwan's contract while they're in the middle of an audit. And they rushed it through. Why would the school committee and the mayor rush through the superintendent's contract while they're in the middle of an audit? Why not wait till the audit's done? What happens if the audit comes out and it finds out that she's another Judy Scannell mismanaging money? Maybe she's not a bad person. Maybe she's just not good at her job. Maybe she screwed up. Maybe she didn't. I don't know. But I'm saying, if you've got an audit going on, why would you give a 3-year contract extension with a 1-year built-in renew before an audit is even complete? That makes no sense to me. And while you have teachers that are complaining about the lack of discipline in the schools, the fact that you have people in the Methuen schools that are getting promotions because of who they are and who they know, you have Dan Shabilia making excuses for the administration. He's really working for Brandy Kwan. He's not working for the teachers. He might have stood up for the teachers on their contract because he's trying to get reelected to he's trying to get elected to the council. That's the only reason why he's doing it. The people on that council, and I know that my teacher friends are going to hate me when I say this, but the people on the council on the school committee that you guys should be supporting is Kristen Maxwell. They all just drove off the road. Ryan DiZoglio and Ken Willett. Those are the people that are asking real questions. Those are the people that are asking, trying to hold real accountability for the superintendent's office. And I've got so much information about what's going on in the schools. I wish I could get to it. I wish I had the time to blow out what I know about the Methuen schools.
Yeah, we're an hour and 30 minutes.
Oh, we really are?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. All right. So I had one more topic, but we're not going to get to it.
Are we having show next week?
So do we want to have a show next week, or do we want to take the week off?
I am available, so it doesn't matter. Are they open here? We got to figure that out.
Well, it's the day before it's 4th of July, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I don't know that they'll be open because a lot of places they give their employees off. But I'm happy to
We've been on a roll.
Listen, I'm happy to take the week off. I'm afraid to say we'll take the week off, and then something big happens on Monday, right?
Yeah.
Then you go, I wish we were in.
There's like things one after the other that's been happening.
It's
I think
crazy.
we should, or even if we move it to next Wednesday, if we can, just to give them some space.
So is the third? Oh, so
the third
Thursday's
is
the third.
Yes.
Okay.
So we can do we can ask next Wednesday maybe.
Okay.
I don't want to skip a week. I think with everything that's going on.
Right. I'd prefer not to skip a week, but you know who's going to watch it too? Like everybody's going to be on vacation. That
you'll be surprised.
Yeah.
Everyone has a phone. Everyone goes everywhere.
Yep.
You know, doesn't matter. People listen to you.
All right.
We had about 80 people at one point today.
Well, that's huge because that means we'll probably hit about 5,000 by the end of the week.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually pretty good.
Well, thank you everybody for listening. You want to say thank you to your sponsors?
Yeah, let's thank the sponsors. I thought I had one more thing, but I probably just don't. It's just my brain trying to get ahead. Let's roll up Mel. There he is. A little loud for Mel. Let's thank our sponsors. Century 21 McLennan Real Estate. I'm so fat that I've got no reading. The Zadie Pesci Law Office, Merced and Son Construction. EIS Investigation and Gun Training. Tomo and Shaken Seafood. JG's Ice Cream. Boy, it's hot. And if you're going to get ice cream, JG's is the place to go. It's actually worth standing in line. I never stand in line anymore. If I pull up someone there's a line, I just keep going. Unless it's JG. That's worth standing in line for. Clear Path for Veterans, New England. AFC Urgent Care has been very hot. A lot of people have heat stroke. It's exacerbating a lot of lung issues. Go to AFC. Don't wait 3 hours in the general of the Holy Family. Enterprise Bank, now Rockland Trust, Prime Insurance, the Doug Mercurio Law Office, W3ON, which I'm glad to be in the show, Quality Catering, Terramar Mexican Grill, and a free shout out to 4-Star Lighting and Stadium Chiropractic. Sounds like Melvin Taylor said you got to go home. So go home already.
Bye, everybody.